In this video, I will be sharing with you guys some of the high protein recipes I have been eating throughout the week. I have noticed that when I fuel my body for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I am at my best self, I can do more, and I just feel way more satiated. If you guys are looking for recipes that will keep you fueled throughout the day, then make sure to keep watching because I have some that I think you'll really like. So for breakfast today, I am going to be making an omelet. So here are all the things that I am going to be using for this omelet. I start off with cutting up one onion. I don't actually use this whole onion for this omelet. I put the rest of it in the fridge so that when I want to eat an omelet throughout the week, I can use it. After that, I just cut up some tomatoes. So whatever tomatoes you have, you can cut up. I just have these cherry tomatoes. And then I add in some ham. So I like to have meat in my eggs because it just gives it a nice flavor. I cut that up and then I go and get a pan. So make sure you have a non-stick pan because this makes a huge difference for getting your omelets not to stick. So I just grease the pan and I make sure to fry all my veggies first. So I start off with the onions and then I go to the tomatoes and then I add the meat in and I fry that up for about 3 to 5 minutes until they're brown. Once that's done, I get the spinach and I add that in there till it wilts. After everything becomes brown, I get 2 eggs. You can do 3 if you have a workout. I'm not working out this morning, so I just do 2. But I add 2 eggs in there and I let it brown. I add an avocado afterwards just to get the healthy fats in there. Also will add some fruit too as well. So I do blueberries and some strawberries. And that's my meal. Super delicious, super quick. You can add some toast if you're gonna work out, but like I said, I don't work out till the afternoon, so that's really good. So for lunch, I am doing a high protein wrap. So I'm using this gluten-free one and I add some mayo and mustard. You can add whatever sauce you want, but then I just add some turkey to it, and whatever meat you have is great. I just had some turkey in my fridge, so I am adding that here, as well as some provolone cheese, and I'm actually going to add some green onions for some flavor. And then I also add some tomatoes as well. So I really like this because it's like a little panini. It's nice. I don't have like a George Foreman grill anymore, so I just use a skillet and I put it on there once it's nice and hot. And in order to allow it to kind of flatten, I use a bowl. So that's why this bowl is here, is to help it kind of flatten like a panini. And once it's nice and brown just like this, I take it off. I eat it with a little bit of pretzels, and that is my meal. Super yummy, super quick, and delicious. You can pair it with some vegetables as well. So for dinner, I am doing a new recipe I've never cooked, which is beef stroganoff. So these are all the things that I'm going to be using for this recipe. It really isn't that bad after making it. I enjoyed making it. So I wipe off the mushrooms because I had to wash them. They weren't very clean. When you have mushrooms, you should always wipe them off, apparently. This is my first time using them actually to cook with. So I cut them up and I slice them up just like this. And mushrooms are actually nice, surprisingly. I don't normally eat them, but they are really good. And then I also cut up these steaks. So I just cut them up very thinly so that they cook evenly. Once that's done, I just added some flour to the steaks because this is gonna give like a thick, creamy consistency once it's all done. But I make sure that it is covered and coated all over the steaks. And once that's done, I just fry them up for about 3 minutes on each side. You don't want to overcook them. Once I get it nice and brown, I take them off the fire. So I make sure to let them sit for a little bit as I cut up my vegetables. So I take some butter and I fry up the onions and the mushrooms in the butter. I make sure to get these nice and sauteed and browned because it's gonna add a lot of good flavor to the sauce that I'm making. I add some minced garlic for flavor and some more flour in order to get it a little thicker. I also add some beef broth and allow that to cook in for a while. I had to switch pots because it wasn't big enough and I realized that kind of late. So that's why I'm switching pans here. And then I add some Worcestershire sauce and all the seasonings. So some salt, pepper, and then also some sour cream just to get it nice and creamy. And then I add the meat back in there and let it cook. A little bit more black pepper. And y'all, this turned out so good. I loved it. And my husband was also pleased, which is a win. All right, guys, I'm gonna be showing you day 2 of things you can be eating. So today is gonna be chicken and vegetables and potatoes most likely. So I'm gonna go get ready on that, but I'll show you a quick breakfast that I ended up having. It was nothing fancy, just yogurt with granola and fruit. So that's something I'll do, is just get the protein in the Greek yogurt and then add some fruit on there and add granola. And that's usually really nice. And then lunch, I wasn't super hungry today, so I just did a G2G bar. If you want to try some of these bars out for yourself, I'll attach the code, but they're so good. And my discount will give you guys 15% off of your purchase. So I'll attach that. And then I also had a little bit of sushi. So I won't say I didn't eat a lunch. Sushi's not like super filling. So I just had a couple bites of that because I was at the store and they had some there. So anyways, I'm gonna start preparing dinner now. It's about 2:40. So I'm gonna dry brine the chicken and add some salt. John's gonna grill because it's such a nice day outside. And yeah, I'm gonna have some sides with that and I'll show you guys what I do. So come along. So before I handle any raw meat, I take all of my rings off. So get my wedding ring off, and then I have this ultra human ring. If you guys are interested, I'll attach it in the description as well. But I take it off and I am preparing my meat. So those packages were so hard to get off. I dab it down just because I wanna make sure all the liquid is off and also that all my seasonings stay on the meat. So you wanna make sure you always do this. I use salt, garlic, onion powder, paprika, black pepper, and yeah, just get it nice and flavorful. And then once I do one side, I flip it over and just do the same thing on the next. Some advice here: if you are cooking with the skin on, make sure to get the seasonings underneath the skin. So it actually adds a lot of flavor when you cook with the skin on. I personally enjoy it, but you can get skinless chicken as well. But yeah, make sure you season underneath. So once I do all that, I add it to the pan and then I let it sit in the fridge for about an hour to 2 hours so that all the seasonings can come in.
Hours later.
So it's a few hours later and I am now preparing my potatoes. So I'm just going to peel all of my potatoes, and let me know if you peel frontwards or backwards. I try to do both, but I think that they're both quick. So let me know what you guys do in the comments. But I wipe all of my potatoes down after I wash them, and then I cut them up very thinly. So I'm actually doing some potato wedges today, and they're a lot healthier than making fries. So I'm going to be doing them in the convection oven. And so I just cut them up just like this and super thin, and I try to make sure that they are all even. It's kind of hard when you have small potatoes though. Once that's done, I put them in this Ziploc bag and I get them ready for seasoning. I like using Ziploc bags because I personally find that it gets the seasonings all over the potatoes better. So I add some olive oil and I shake it up just to make sure it's all coated. And then I add some Parmesan cheese, which is the key to this recipe, y'all, because this is what gets it nice and brown in the oven and makes it feel like you're eating fries, but you're not really. So if you like cheese or you don't have any dairy issues, I recommend doing this. It's so yummy. But if you do, you can omit this part and just add the seasonings. So I do garlic powder, salt, shake it up a little bit to make sure everything gets covered, and then I add some onion and a little bit of black pepper once that's done. And then I just take some parchment paper. So I found that using parchment paper makes the fries a lot, or the wedges, I guess, a lot crispier. So if you can do that, I think that's really helpful. And I make sure they're separated so they're not touching. If they touch, they get a little soggy. So make sure they're not touching. And then I let that sit while I prepare my asparagus. So I just cut them up and get them ready to be seasoned as well. So for the asparagus, I just use salt, pepper, some garlic, and some oil just to kind of get them flavored. and I put them in the oven. So we actually have 2 ovens, so I'll be cooking both of them. And John is preparing our chicken. So we are grilling today because it is such a nice day outside, and he's gonna keep this on the grill for maybe about, I would say 20-25 minutes.
A few minutes later.
And after a few minutes, the chicken is ready. This is what it looks like. Super yummy. If you don't have a grill, then just use your oven. But yeah, this is the meal. Super yummy, quite balanced, and super delicious. So highly recommend trying this one out. And here is John being silly as usual. It is officially time for dinner, and I am about to start a potato bowl recipe. So it's gonna have sweet potatoes and ground beef and veggies. I'll show you guys what I do, but I found this recipe on Instagram and I tried it once and I really like it. So I'm gonna show you guys what I do. So I start off with putting the oven on 350 for my sweet potatoes. So I am going to be cutting these up into just little cubes. And so we're back at it again with the peeling, trying to figure out which way is best. But yes, this is probably one of my least favorite parts of making potatoes. And clean it off as usual, wipe it down to make sure that the seasonings stick. And this is what it looks like once I chop it all up. Today I'm just gonna use the bowl for the seasonings. I use avocado oil. I just use salt and pepper, and then I mix it all together. And then we put it in the oven for about 20 minutes. Make sure they're separated. I also like convection because it gets it nice and brown. So while that's cooking, I'm preparing everything for the bowl. So we are using tomatoes. And I really like this recipe that I found on Instagram because it has literally everything in it. It has vegetables, it has meat, it has, fats. I put a little bit of avocado in it as well. And it's just nice. I love Mexican food personally. So cut up some cilantro and just, get everything ready for the bowl. I'm gonna fry up my meat. So I'm gonna be using ground beef, but you can use ground turkey, you can use steak, you can use chicken. I'm just using ground beef because we had it in our fridge. And so I'm doing salt, paprika, onion powder, garlic powder. But if you have any taco seasoning, you could probably just use that too because it's a very similar flavor. Once all of my meat is brown, I just add all of my ingredients back in. So I put the sweet potatoes in. Make sure they're all even because it allows you to get enough when you make your bowl. And then I add shredded cheese, tomatoes on top. Then I do raw onion, the cilantro, some queso fresco. And if you want, you can add some sour cream or Mexican cream, whatever cream. And I also add some avocado for those healthy fats. And this is what it looks like. So delicious. I pair it with a spinach wrap. John uses corn tortillas. You can do it without the tortillas for a less caloric intake. But this is really delicious. I love it. And I highly, highly recommend you guys try this one out. All right, you guys, it is like day 4 or 5. I don't know, I can't do the math right now, but I'm about to make some pancakes. So we're doing breakfast for dinner. And this is a good alternative if you don't have an idea of what you want to make and you just want to have like a steady dinner idea. You can just do breakfast. So make some pancakes and some eggs and fruit. So a little bit of a treat. For this recipe, I'm just going to be doing regular pancakes. You can make this a protein pancake. So you can add protein powder. You can literally use cottage cheese. I've seen people do that, but I'm just going to be doing a normal one. So adding flour and adding egg. I also add some buttermilk. You guys can also just use the pre-packaged one, but I prefer homemade pancakes personally. So using this new skillet we got, and it actually gets quite warm, so my pancakes got a little more brown than I would have liked, but the pancakes turned out delicious, and I added some eggs for protein and some more fruit. If you just need any other idea for like a nighttime meal, just do breakfast. We have both made this part of our weekly routine. For tonight's dinner, we are going to be making a high protein Tuscan pasta. So I'm going to be using some seafood. This is all of the stuff I use. I actually use cottage cheese for this recipe because it is high in protein. And I use this de coco pasta. You can use a protein pasta. And we're making scallops, y'all. So cut up 1 onion, and then I take a bell pepper and I cut that up. I cut up tomatoes, I cut up artichokes. This is gonna be a vegetable rich meal, okay? I'm gonna mince some garlic and cut it up just like this. And then I blend the cottage cheese in a blender. So I take about a cup of cottage cheese, and then you can add a little bit of milk to make this a little bit creamier. Obviously it's hard to blend it, so milk, and you can even use a little bit of heavy cream as well, and I will use that. I also add cornstarch to make it thick, and then I blend that all together. I prepared the pasta. So like I said, there's a lot of versions of high protein pasta you can use to add more protein to the recipe. I've done it both ways. And I fry the vegetables first. So start off with the garlic. You want to make sure you fry your garlic because it makes it just more potent and delicious. And then I put all of my vegetables in there, season with paprika, some Italian seasoning, pepper, and salt. Mix that all together for a little bit till they're browned, and then I add some more spinach until it is wilted. I add the tomatoes last because they like to cook very quickly, and then I add the cream to the mixture. So as I mix it together, this is what it should look like, and I also add a little bit more seasoning to give it more flavor. I will dab down the scallops to make sure all of the liquid is off. Then I season it with all the same seasonings, but I also add some Cajun. So Cajun makes it a little spicy, but it's delicious if you like spice. I just let it brown. You don't want to overcook scallops. They only take about 3 to 4 minutes. So the internal temperature, I believe, should be between 125 and 130. But this is what it looks like, y'all. This meal is so good. It is high in protein, and it's not as high in calories as like an Alfredo sauce. So definitely recommend trying it out. This is one of my go-tos, and I highly recommend it. So I hope you guys enjoy these recipes. Let me know in the comments which one was your favorite or which one you'll try. Also, subscribe for more content in the future. We will be making some more videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.